I still remember my 10th birthday. It was a sunny day and we were planning to go to an amusement park about 30 minutes from us. I stayed up till midnight and was barely able to go back to sleep after my parents wished me a happy birthday. The morning I woke up, we had my favorite breakfast and we started to get ready after. Unfortunately, that's when things started to go wrong. I don't remember what exactly it was, but there was something that went wrong, something I didn't like, and a fight occurred. I began to cry in the car and my mom had to apologize, but the day was basically ruined. It was a small fight, but nothing new. Earlier birthdays went similarly. It was always something that went wrong, and somehow I was always crying. For whatever reason. Sometimes it were small things, and sometimes something big happened. But when I was 12 and struggled a lot with my mental health in general, I had other reasons to cry. Just the fact that it was my birthday seemed enough. Because it seemed like I should be happy, I should be feeling content and grateful, but I wasn't, and I couldn't be, and that alone made me feel even worse. It was enough to push me over the edge and make me cry. And to be honest, it's been that way ever since. Every year, every birthday, it's the same. What helped me though is to look up this specific phenomenon of crying on your birthday, and it made me realize that there are lots of other people who feel the same way as I do. Many people experience it and don't even understand why it's happening. So today, I wanted to talk about it. Maybe to make others understand themselves, or maybe for me to just realize it myself. Because the answer isn't as simple as just to say that, well, we expect too much from our birthday, so we get disappointed. It has to do with our culture, social pressure, life in general, and especially aging. And even social media is involved to a certain extent. So let's talk about why we cry on our birthdays for sometimes seemingly no reason at all. So let's get the most obvious part out of the way first. Pressure. Everyone wants to be perfect. On social media, we see these crazy, perfect, exciting birthday parties that somehow everyone seems to be throwing. Or maybe we hear about them from a friend or family member in real life, and then obviously we want those parties as well. After all, you only turn 18 once, or 17, or 16, or 24, or 44. Actually, every age is unique, and you only turn each age once. The number itself doesn't really matter in terms of how special your birthday is, because each one is special. There are some culturally ingrained milestones like Sweet 16, or turning 18 and being a legal adult, or turning 20 and not being in your teens anymore, but still, every birthday only happens once, and since we only live once, every birthday is special and should be celebrated. That's what we feel like. Oftentimes though, like I said in the beginning, our expectations are too high, not simply because we see everything on social media, but because we expect perfection in terms of mood, people, what's happening, but that simply isn't possible. You can't influence your mood on a certain date. You can't influence how you'll feel. You can't influence what bad things will happen or might not happen. You can plan and try to make it as good as possible, and maybe you will have a great birthday, but it can never be perfect. You can have an overall good birthday, but for that your expectations would have to be below perfect, and for a lot of us, that isn't the case. It's just so ingrained in our brains that birthdays have to be absolutely perfect to the last minute detail that we are basically predetermined to fail. What makes it even worse is the way social media presents birthdays to us. It's very much possible and also very likely that people only show a certain part of their birthday, only show the highlights, only show the positive sides.
Hey everyone, here's a little vlog of my birthday. This morning I just got up and I opened some presents with my family, and then we all had breakfast together. I then just quickly got ready because I had an exam at school, and my beautiful best friend picked me up some donuts. Afterwards I just came home and got ready, which was so fun because I got to try out a few new products. We browsed around at a few other stores and then we just headed home. The weather was so beautiful, so we just went in the pool for a bit and then just got ready to go out for dinner.
Which in turn makes the viewers feel like their birthday parties aren't enough because something went wrong. Like the slightest, smallest thing went wrong and somehow that's already too much. Or maybe you don't even have a party. Maybe you need to stay at work that day or stay in the hospital, maybe you're sick, or you simply don't feel like doing anything at all. Then just hearing about others celebrating can be tough enough because you already feel jealous or maybe feel like you're missing out. FOMO is a big part of this. But there is something else beneath this surface level observation that I think makes birthdays sometimes painful, or make us generally afraid of them. And for me, I've only noticed this recently when I turned 17 around a week ago. But ever since I turned 17, aging has become really scary. And the thing is, there are other personal reasons for me to be afraid of aging that I don't want to get into, but the general sense that you're afraid of aging is, I think, something pretty much everyone can relate to. Because if we take it literally, turning 1 year older does mean that you are 1 year closer to death. That's one way to see it. It's not the best way to see it, obviously. It's sort of an unhealthy way to view aging, but it still is. But even if you're not afraid of death, then 1 year older means 1 year closer to physically aging, which also is something that is culturally not accepted, because in our culture it is, especially of women, expected to fit into the beauty standards, which include not aging, always staying young or looking young. So not fitting into beauty standards anymore, if you have before, for example, or knowing that it's going to happen to you, can make us feel terrible already. A lot of people want to be forever young, which is understandable, but still pretty sad. And logically, if we were to look past all of this culture stuff, not even logical. Aging actually does come with so many positive things. The best of them all, in my opinion, is the fact that we basically just evolve like forever. We keep learning, we keep changing, we keep finding new parts of ourselves or discovering something new. Like, we keep evolving. Many people actually talk about feeling the happiest in their life at 60 or 70 later in life, because they were able to grow, learn, and evolve. That's why children are so fragile. They don't have that life experience, and also why teenagers mostly feel like shit. Okay, well, that one obviously also has to do with puberty, but you get my point. We are still finding ourselves, and once you're an adult, of course, you keep doing that, but to a certain extent, you will have that base level of, this is me. And that process needs time, and if all goes well, we do have that time. Besides the fear of aging, I also mentioned the fear of death, though, which I think a lot of us, especially young people or people who feel like they are unfulfilled in life, can definitely relate to. And I wanted to talk about this a little bit more, that fear of death, because it's been on my mind for a certain amount of time in the last year. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I've come up with some, I think, very helpful things to say and realize to make you less afraid. The first one is the most important one for me. If you live a fulfilled life, achieve what you want to achieve in life, you can make peace with dying once you're old and have lived a long life. That is possible, and actually a lot of people feel that way. Many elderly people report little to no fear of death, some even welcoming it, which, of course, I'm not saying you should be suicidal at like any age, but accepting death at an old age can be actually very healthy, because obviously it is going to happen to everyone, and when you're old, you always have to expect it in some way. And it is true, studies show that a lot of elderly people, old people, have made peace with it or even welcome it. And here's the point, that feeling though is something that young people simply can't understand, because they don't have that life experience. When you're young, you're supposed to live. You're supposed to sort of feel like life goes on forever. That's a part of it. There is that healthy balance between feeling like life goes on forever and feeling like you only have like a certain amount of time left and you need to rush everything, which I talked about in another video, the need to become successful young, because we feel like we're running out of time, which we aren't. We have time, but we also don't have forever. The point of life not going on forever and there being a death is that it creates that sense of urgency. That urgency can become unhealthy if you feel like you are running out of time constantly when you're not actually. It is necessary for us to feel like we can even do anything in life. Because if we were to live forever, nobody would ever do anything. Because we would have like forever. Why do something now if we can do it later? We could always say do it later, and this seems like such a simple point, but it really creates perspective. Death is necessary to give life meaning. But an early death, for example when you're 20 or even 40 or 50, is not natural, and that's the reason why it's so tragic. The person hasn't had that time, and we really need those, say, approximately 80 years to live. We really need that time to fulfill our dreams and do everything that we want to do. I know, of course, there are exceptions, and when someone dies at an early age, they can still have mostly achieve what they want in life, but I think there's a reason why our lives aren't as short as, for example, that of any other animal. Like, for example, I don't know, a cat. I hear people say this a lot, life is short, but objectively speaking, it isn't. 80 years is a long time, that's 8 decades. And it is 100% enough, objectively, to live a fulfilled life. The reason why so many old people, for example, if you're 80 or 90, maybe more towards 90, say that they feel fulfilled and that they welcome death, maybe don't even want to live anymore, not in a suicidal way, but more in like a sense that they have accomplished everything that they want to accomplish and they just become tired, is next to the physical changes that they have had enough time. There has been enough experience in their life to then let go peacefully. And the second is more about the state of death itself. So the state of death itself is like before you were born. I know a lot of people have probably already talked about this, but I wanted to mention it as well. The brain simply isn't able to comprehend what it's like before you existed. It doesn't understand what it's like if itself doesn't exist. It only knows what being is like, not what not being is like. So thinking about it constantly, ruminating, won't get you anywhere because you simply can't understand it. It's not possible. You will simply freak out and panic. So realize that it's like before you were born, and that was fine, wasn't it? You don't know, but it was fine. Stop trying to understand what it could be like, because it's not like sleeping, because after sleeping you wake up and then you think about sleeping, so it's not like sleeping, and it's also not like complete darkness. It is simply something we can't comprehend, but something that will be fine, because we won't be able to experience it. We won't be there to feel it. That's basically it. I know death can still be very scary, but if you're young and you don't have any like terminal illnesses and you don't have a shortened lifespan, I think there is no reason for you to be thinking about death right now. And when you're old, death can even feel right, like I said. And lastly, I want to talk just a tiny bit about the fear of losing loved ones, because obviously getting older, aging to a certain extent, not like 2 years, but like decades of aging can mean or will mean that you will inevitably lose loved ones. Parents, friends, I don't know, other people that you like. And I can't say too much about that because it's a fear of mine as well, but I can say that loss does get easier with age. Here's a quick example of how loss changes. For example, losing a parent as a child or teenager is very often traumatic and devastating. It can completely change your life, make you feel terrible for the rest of your life. Of course, there are ways to cope, but essentially, if you lose your parent early on, it will have long-term effects on you. But when you're a fully grown adult and you have experience with grief, have spent a lot of time with your parents, you know, there is never like enough time, but you have spent a lot of time with them and you were able to say goodbye, and you are much more independent and less dependable on them as you were as a teenager, then oftentimes or usually that pain is endurable. I'm not saying that it's not painful, but it's endurable. It's not something that completely crushes you and you feel like you can't live anymore. It's not like that usually, but more like letting go. That still hurts, but it's endurable. The point is that you will be able to grieve, and maybe for some time the pain will feel terrible, but at some point you will likely be able to live with it and be okay and move on, in the sense that you'll be okay again. And I want to say something real quick. There are exceptions to this, obviously. The death of a parent can still be traumatic if you are at a later stage in life under specific circumstances. For example, if the death is very sudden or the parent is still relatively young. I just want to say that maybe under this video, don't talk about such a traumatic story in the comments, because I think it can be very triggering for people. If there's anything else you want to share, please go ahead, but maybe not this time a story about a traumatic loss, because that can amplify the fear, and this video is supposed to be about lessening that fear, so maybe not under this video. Thank you. Alright, so now that we have talked about and dealt with the fear of death, let's now get into the last reason I can think of why we would cry on our birthdays. And it actually has to do with childhood. And this one is especially true for those of us who have experienced childhood trauma or anything of the sort, anything negative in their childhood that is still affecting them. When it's your birthday, it is oftentimes the case that if you still have family, that you will go to visit them, or if you still live with them, spend more time with them. Or maybe there's a ritual that you do that you've done since childhood that then in turn reminds you of those times. Any of that might remind you of how things used to be, or amplify the distress that maybe things haven't changed in the way that you wanted them to. Both options can be very painful. When your birthday serves as a reminder that terrible things happened to you, maybe in childhood or anything else that might be related to your birthday, it can feel less like a cause to celebrate, but more like a day to just endure. So what can you do in that specific scenario where you feel like your birthday is a burden that you need to endure? There are some things that I have found can be very helpful. The first one is pretty obvious. Make it less about it needing to be perfect. Basically, just understanding that your birthday doesn't need to be perfect and why you feel the need for it to be perfect can already be helpful and take some of the pressure out of your birthday. The next one is something that personally helped me. It might not be great for everyone, but for me, it is really helpful to just accept that it won't be good, not even expect it to be great, but simply expect it to be bad. On the contrary, it can also be helpful to only do the things that you feel like will make you feel good mentally. A birthday can be about feeling good mentally and also about making memories. For some people, it might be both. For some people, it might be neither. But if you want to at least do something on your birthday, I usually decide to go with making memories. So I just go to certain places, know that I won't be feeling well, but I still do them to at least feel like I have accomplished something and done something memorable with my birthday. But you can also decide to do something that you know will just make you feel well, like, I don't know, going out to read or meeting up with friends, talking to a family member, whatever makes you feel well. And lastly, this one is a little controversial, but if you're not a child or an alcoholic, have a drink. I know it's not always good for you and drinking is never really the solution to mental problems, but I think a birthday is like the one occasion where it can be helpful to drink through the pain, because the pain is just that specific day, and if you don't cope with alcohol any other days, then I think one time is fine. But like, correct me if I'm wrong, I just personally find that to be helpful. I did that for my last birthday. I did wake up in the hospital, but maybe not overdo it. Next to alcohol, it might be helpful to do something that induces adrenaline. I would recommend doing something like that you're afraid of, for example, bungee jumping. I did indoor skydiving, which wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be, but if you have the money and the physical capacity to do it, maybe try something intense. And that was it for the video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If it's your birthday today, happy birthday. If it was recently your birthday, happy late birthday. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, a thumbs up, and comment what you think about it. If you ever cried on your birthday, if you regularly do as I do, and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye!